So I included in this document the links or the URLs for each of the devices that we've created for this system. So I'm going to choose the navigation device for the Deep Discoverer. So these are we use device IDs. Every instrument has a unique, what we call device ID in our system. And so then they each have their own metadata landing page where the data stewards in my team will enter and update these metadata. And there's definitely components to these instruments that I'd like to have better, so I can work with you all on making these better. But the first page that you'll see is the page that puts the device name, the device code, which is used for naming of our files as they get archived on a daily basis. Who's the PI? I've put MashCore as the PI for all of these instruments, so if you'd like any changes to that, let me know. We have a device category within our system, and actually we're just in a process of mapping all our categories to one of the NERC vocabularies. I think it's either the L06 or the L22. One's more for the make and model, one's more category, I forget which. So we're actively doing some mappings on that currently. And this searchable flag just says whether or not it'll be available within Oceans 2.0. Ignore the Venus and Neptune aspects of that. That's historical, but Neptune means it's in Oceans 2.0. Then this tab, Sensors, indicates what variables that we have for that device, and so this is what we'll be parsing out of the stream for the navigation. The IP address is where we set the IP and port to stream the data. This IP tab is actually not available or not visible to everyone. General users don't see this. It's the higher level admin viewing only. We're not using these electrical rating in this for this system. The data rating shows the sampling rate that we'll be collecting for that instrument. So for all of these, we have 1 hertz. And then the nameplate, in this case, it's more of a general navigation system, but in other cases, like the CTD, we have the exact make and model as the, I forget right now if it's 19 plus or what it was, but I do have that entered for those. So you can check all of these devices and let me know if you have any corrections or anything you'd like changed on any of these. The ports just usually just have a port so that we can connect up the instrument topology. I'll show you that briefly. We're not using physical characteristics in this case. Device action will be just the sort of the history of actions that we take with an instrument. Events will kind of double as that, and as well they'll put other events where we might have entered metadata. The site is the history of where the instrument is located. So we typically use ONC unassigned when it's not something that's at a particular location that we have control over. So we've set it up already to assuming that the instrument starting in December 1st, as far as our metadata goes, will be considered on that platform. The next 2 tabs of procurement, well actually while I'm here, I'm going to show one more thing. So if you click on these hyperlinks, this hyperlink of the ROV Deep Discoverer, you'll get actually information about the source for the positional information for that platform. So we have 2 kinds of ways of representing positions. One is a fixed position and one is a mobile position. So these are obviously mobile platforms, and so we enter the reference variable or sensor ID to get that piece of information from. So anything on the platform of the ROV Deep Discoverer will refer back to this site. You can see that if you just even scroll down below. So all of these instruments are assumed to be, or are not assumed, but are entered to be on that platform, and they will all get their position information from the sensors identified. So these are the lat long sensors on that navigation system. The depth is from the C to D, I don't know why this browser, but if I scroll over, I can also see that the heading and pitch and roll is coming from the navigation system of the ROV. So there's 3 sites set up, or position references set up for this, the instruments that we have. We have the Deep Discover, the camera sled, and the ship itself. So each platform is handled separately. Then coming back here, the workflow, you can actually see where we are in our own support for these instruments. So we have assigned each of these instruments what we call the networked cruise device, meaning they'll all be on a cruise and networked devices with drivers and parsers. So we're in the development phase, and actually these should be marked as complete. The drivers and parsers are done, and some of these are done, just it's a matter of going through. Some of these tasks won't be necessary for this expedition, so we'll just be marking them as not required, as necessary. And then as we get going, we'll making sure that the data is flowing properly and that everything looks correct. So you can kind of use these to see if what we're monitoring or what we've actually checked off for any particular device. The C-script tab doesn't apply to these systems. What it allows us to do in general is, in some systems we have, like for cameras, for instance, we have, or vertical profilers, we have specific schedules and controls that the principal investigators would like to apply, and they'd like to have control over that code that operates it so that they can change the frequency of the lights going on and off or whatever. So this is a tool where we have support for certain instruments for direct control, script-based control for instruments for the PIs on the network for Neptune and Venus and things. So I think that's the main things I would like to show with device listing.